Hello and welcome to Layback with Betfair. We've got a huge weekend of racing coming up, Queensland's biggest day. We've got the Group 1 Stradbroke Handicap, the JJ Atkins for the 2-year-olds as well, and we're going to dissect that entire card up there at Eagle Farm. My name's Nick Foot, your host. Joining me is Reece, Goodwin and Tom Haylock. The crew's back together. Tommy, how are you?
Good to have you back, mate. How was Darwin?
It was beautiful. I'm a little bit bronzed, as you can see. This is a video podcast. Yeah, okay. I was hoping I'd fool just the listeners of this show. But nah, 31 and beautiful every single day, mate. Reece, how are you going?
Good, mate. Yeah, good to have you back also. We were lost without you last week. Cal did an okay job.
I thought it was pretty good.
Well, you're very nice, aren't you?
Can we organise it for you to get a horse up for the Darwin Cup or something?
Yeah, 100%.
Can you target the Darwin Carnival
Does
for
it
us?
have to be in my name?
You can transfer stables.
Well, I think we could buy something and send it to the great Gary Clark.
We
That's
should.
what he's doing, yeah.
And all get up there and let's do it.
Gamble responsibly.
One of the great carnivals. We'll get a table at the ball, and
I think it's a great idea.
Yeah.
It's such a great time to get away from Melbourne as well, isn't it, in terms of weather? And yeah, it's a nice little time to get some sun on the back, boys. Tommy, you saw him pretty well last week too. I might touch on. You had a pretty good weekend.
Just another weekend, mate.
Oh, here he is.
No different to the weekend before.
Yeah.
Well, Best got up the weekend before.
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah.
It's 2 good weekends in a row.
That's right. Touch wood, we're back to do it all again. No, I can't wait for this meeting. It's a great meeting. The Eagle Farm track's playing superbly. We mentioned the grass coverage is different now. The predominant grass has changed and it's racing fairer. And I spoke to Gibbo up there who has complained about the Eagle Farm track for years. He reckons the jockeys are riding it better as well, so they've got more confidence. Barriers used to not be an issue. They used to just track wide and come really wide in the straight, but they're actually riding it better and the track's playing really well. The rails in the 4 metres should be a good track. Every horse gets their chance.
Yeah, nice. Hey, boys, before we do get into that card, we've, of course, got to go to the lay bin. And, Tommy, you're going to kick it off with some pretty big racing news out of Singapore this week.
Yeah, easy lay. Singapore racing finishing up. It's dire. The fact that participants got called into a room and got told racing's finishing up in October 2024, I think. So, gee, a lot of water going to the bridge before then. A lot of horse welfare issues they got to resolve. A lot of trainers, a lot of people out of jobs. It's diabolical, really, and might be. I don't want to be the devil here, but it might be a sign or a warning for other jurisdictions to sort out what's going on. It hasn't been managed very well over there, and might be a bit of a warning for Australian racing.
Yeah, I don't really have a lay bin, but just to second that, the Singapore thing, it makes me laugh that they think the participants are going to put on a show until October 2024.
That's a fair point.
Yeah, I just don't see why what happens at October 2024. All of a sudden everyone just has to stop. I don't think the participants will want to go for that long. They're obviously going to be looking for avenues, other avenues already.
Strategies have started.
That's right.
Yesterday,
exactly. I don't think they're going to hang around until late next year. So it'd be interesting to see how it plays out.
Did you work over there?
6 months.
6 months over there.
With Lee Freeman, and it was just before COVID, and things were going very well there, and it was one of the best parts of my life so far. It was only a short time, but I had an absolute ball over there, and an experience that I'll take with me for the rest of my life. So it's a real shame to see what's happened, because it's a beautiful place, great people. The racing was booming at the time. Like Zach Purton won the Derby for the stable I was with at the time. So there was, some very good jockeys heading over there. Casper Founds had runners over there. So it's a shame to see how quickly it's fallen off a cliff.
It's amazing, isn't it? How quick,
it just goes to show how quickly you can destroy something if not run properly.
Warning.
And one jurisdiction's loss will be another's gain. So those people just don't.
Correct.
Hopefully we don't lose them to racing forever.
Well, this is the thing. There's the expats can probably go somewhere, but what about the locals?
Yeah.
What do they do? There's so many locals that work there that are there at home. It'd be like telling me racing's finishing in Australia. Where do you go from here? You just go into another whole part of the world and try and start a business. It just doesn't work.
Well, Cliff Brown probably jumped ship at the right time during COVID.
Yeah, there were some warning signs there. There was a number of people that sort of worked out what might have been happening. I think the surprise is just how quickly this has come about. But number of top participants that had left, which probably had an effect, unfortunately. But they probably read the play and got out of there before they had their choice made for them.
Yeah, very good. I'm gonna take my lay-in over to next week, boys. I think that's a good collective lay-in, that
Right,
one.
you happy with that?
Yeah,
you
and
didn't
we
think
might
the cinema conversation really fit the bill? I'm just saving it for largest.
Now there's a spoiler alert for
teaser.
next week. Teaser, I like that.
Radiocraft.
A teaser.
Tune in next week.
Yeah, tune in next week. I like to just keep them hanging on. Boys, what we're going to do today is we're going to dissect the entire card at Eagle Farm. We haven't done that this season on layback, where we've just targeted one state. So I like the tack. We're going to hone in on Eagle Farm. And Tommy, you touched on before, in terms of track conditions, plus 4 metres the entire circuit, and likely to be in good range.
Yes, be a good track. The weather looks fine. Rails 4. Track's been playing superbly. Kudos to them, the track stuff up there.
Excellent. Well, let's start in a pretty good place to start, which is race number 1, the listed Oxlade Stakes for the 2-year-olds, 1,300 metres. Johnny Rocker won the race last year for Barry Lockwood, and a future Oakley Plater in 2021 with Uncommon James taking it out. Infancy, Zuccarette and He-Man all look the likely speed influences in the race. Can often be a little bit of a raffle with some of the green 2-year-olds engaged, though. Tommy, is that how you've sort of seen the map unfolding?
Yes, about right, mates. Should be a genuine tempo over the 1,300 metres. So you got 4 of these coming through the Bill Carter. Abounding certainly can. Queen of Dragons, Mighty come through that race. Abounding was trapped very wide and back. Really bad run, and still managed to come second there. It was a really good run. I only think 3 horses can win this race, and not the one you're tipping, I think. Abounding, Zuccarette, Queen of Dragons are my 3. I think they're 3 standouts. Zuccarette ties in through Zia, who obviously won that Bill Carter, so ties in Zuccarette, and probably favourably. She beat Zuccarette by 1.86 lengths when they met at Canterbury on May 3. So I think Zuccarette comes through a really high rating win, clearly improving, clearly on the way up. Wide barrier, tricky maps, the concern for Zuccarette. But yeah, I like the run of Abounding last start. Got to be a key chance. And then you've got Queen of Dragons, who can improve second up as well.
Yeah, so I'm with Queen of Dragons. She was, just watching the replay, I thought she was the one that sort of was back. She did have a nice run, but she was back. She come around them. Bounding got the sort of the jump on her, although had a wide torrid run, but she was really good through the line. You go through her 2 runs last prep, she was 5 lengths behind Red Resistance, which isn't close to him, but he's a serious horse, I think. And then she was only a length behind Militarised. She's drawn gate 1. Hopefully they can be a pair or 2 closer. My concern with Abounding was, again, the gate, where he's going to be. I think in these types of 2-year-old races, you want a lot of things going in your favour. So you got Zuccarette, Abounding out wide, Heeman, out wide. So I thought sort of, you probably want to be going each way in a 2-year-old race, but pretty happy with Queen of Dragons. And I like that Ryan Maloney's stuck with her. He's had a feel of her now, and hopefully she can go a few better than what she did her last run there.
Yeah, I'm going with the Victorian form lines here, boys, in Isthmus, and I was with her on debut at Flemington for Anthony and Sam Friedman, and the money came late, big time for her in the last few minutes of betting. I thought she was good, but the 1,100 metre straight I think was likely a bit sharp for her. She's beautifully bred. I'm Invincible out of one of my favourite mares, Shoals. Second up here at 1,300 is going to suit. 850 metre Sunny Coast jump out in between runs as well. The informed Mick D on board. I reckon it's a good way to get the day off to a good start. She opened at about 9s on Corpse, and I was really keen to get involved 1x3 play. She's about $6 now. I think she's found a mark. So, hopefully might just get out a little bit on race day.
I don't know what to do with it. Straight track race, so hard, like other direction here. As you said, very well bred in the market. You've got to respect her. But if she wins, I'll probably lose on the race, but I'm not keen to bet, really.
Stable have a very high opinion of her as well.
Just an interesting one. I don't know, probably the Freeman's, I don't know if he was ever going to get the ride, but Ryan Maloney did trial her while she was up. I don't know if he was offered the ride or not and wanted to stick with Queen of Dragons, so maybe there might have been something in that, but pretty open race, really, isn't it?
Well, look forward to it. I'll be cheering Isthmus anyway. Race number 2, boys, the Group 3 Gunsynd Classic for 3-year-olds over the mile. Kiss Some won the race last year for Tracy Bartley and the promising Ayrton back in 2021. Yellow Brick is a fascinating runner here. Currently $1.65 favourite. Corpse is 4th emergency in the Stradbroke. Last start ran Hawaii 5-0 to under a length in the Fred Best, who is on the second line of betting in the Group 1 Stradbroke later in the card. So getting back here against the 3-year-olds under set weight conditions, drawing barrier 3, looks mighty scary, fellas. I know you guys are pretty keen.
Yeah, you can go, Tommy, if you like.
He's the best weighted horse in the country. He's 100 handicap. I know he's
You
got
know what
upside.
you said last week about that horse? Best weighted horse in the country. It won.
It won. And the second
There's
best
a
weighted horse.
There's a trend here.
Second best horse in the, weighted horse in the country ran second. So
there you go.
but yeah, it's like set weights, 57, 100 handicap rated horse. He's got the same weight as a 64 handicap rated horse. He's so well off at the weights. $1.65. I think he'll get better than that at Betfair. I'm happy to take it, to be honest. I don't think there's any challenges. He maps perfectly. He's just got to get the run at the right time. And he wins. It's as simple as that.
So Redina is the market danger, who was a
Yes.
nice winner in 72 company last start. Beautiful front-running steer from Jasper Franklin. J-Mac goes on for this. Are you just saying at the weights, no, or is this just a premium form line? And the follow-up question as well would be, what price are you willing to go to on Yellow Brick?
Yeah, so 2 questions. Redina is probably the danger, but you're getting J-Mac tax. J-Mac jumps on, barrier 4. That's why he's second favourite, this horse. He's got upside, but he ran third at Gosford the start prior. He got back. That was over a mile. Like he beat Samana, Peace Officer, by half length, 2 back as well, or 3 back now. That's not the form we're seeing through Stradbroke. Hawaii 5-0's $5 in a Stradbroke. So I think Yellow Brick's clearly the best horse. What would I take? I've got him marked about $1.65, so I'm happy to take the $1.65.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I think he's 100% a bet. I'm not one to step into one at shorts, but there's only 2 things you can get him beat is bad luck or him not being right for some reason. He's just by far the best horse in the race. The one I want to give a mention to as maybe as a Quinella play is Soothsayer. Just to add to Yellow Brick too, I reckon he's even better at a mile. He walked in one day at a mile, and this horse ran second to him, so you could sort of tie him in from the prep before. I was really steering away from the Waller J-Mac horse. It was only come up second favourite basically because it obviously has a different form in Twine, and the 2 factors are Waller and J-Mac, so I don't mind. Obviously, probably stepping into Yellow Brick, and as you said, Tommy, we might get a better price on the day, Betfair, but maybe might have a little exacta play with Soothsayer because he hasn't been far away from him previously to mile.
Yeah, I like that.
Yep, nice boys, good stuff.
Are you with him?
Definitely on top, yeah. And I was actually really interested to get your thoughts around price because I just couldn't work out what his right price would be. And if Tom Haylock's saying $1.65, then I'm happy to get involved. Race number 3, boys, is the listed Wayne Wilson plate, weight for age, over a mile. Antino, Big Boy Roy look to be the likely speed influences here. Antino's just flying for Tony Gollan, building a great record, 8 starts, 7 wins. Faces probably his toughest test here. Moonamek for Nick Ryan is airborne as well. Sinawan, Kerwin's Lane, Skyman, they're the others in the market. How are you assessing this one, mate?
Yeah, we go from Yellow Brick, who's one of the best weighted horses in the country, to Antino, who's airborne but not well off at the weights whatsoever. Weight for age, this is his toughest test by a mile. But he's won 7 from 8, he's won 3 from 4 at Eagle Farm, he's won 5 from 6 on a good track. He just ticks so many boxes. Just the weight scale, interesting to see what the market does with him. The data teams and the weights teams might risk him a little bit. Just on that, I went looking away from him, but there's not much in great form either. I mean, Monomek's coming off a really high rating win last start. Also not brilliantly off at weight for age either. So, I mean, you go looking at the top of the weights and Kerwin's Lane, Dark Destroyer, Skyman, they're the horses you want to be on from a weights perspective, but Kerwin's Lane's coming off a 12th of 16, probably A-grade form, can improve. It's not a race I'm keen to bet into. I don't want to be against Antino, but I don't really want to be with him either.
Yeah, do you think Antino probably just finds the top pretty easy too? That's the other thing that probably leans in his favour. There's probably only one thing against him is the weight against these horses.
He wouldn't want to bring those barrier manners from
That's true.
last start as well. Like, that was a Class 6 field that he beat, and he missed the kick and did a lot of work, and just class did prevail. But you wouldn't want to be missing that in a weight for age mile race like this.
Correct. Yeah, I went around him too. I've also gone around Moonamek just because barrier 1 scares the shit out of me out of a race. I don't think they're going to go horribly hard in. If he can be somehow box seat, that'll certainly help his chances. But if he's 3 back the fence, he's in a little bit of trouble. He got a great run the other day and a good ride, and he won well accordingly. So I'm going Dragon Leap each way here. He was only just beaten by Surf Dancer last start. If you go back, he was 3.5 behind Gentleman Roy back here in Melbourne at Group 3 grade. I give Gentleman Roy a chance in the Stratty. And then before that, he was 3.5 behind Snap Dancer in Melbourne too. So his best form's good enough for a race like this. In form, Mick D, you're getting 10-1 or somewhere thereabouts. I thought 1x3 play, he'd be pretty safe. He seems a pretty honest horse. Outside that, a pretty open race. But went searching for value because I just thought the top two in the market had a couple of crosses against them.
Yeah, I'm getting involved. Could be on the floor if it doesn't pan out my way here, but I think Antino could be the best horse in the race, and I'm going to have a saver in terms of my main bet's going to come with number 5, Cinnawaan, and I'm going to save my stake with Antino just because I'm just scared of the progression of this horse. But Anthony and Sam Freeman got this Cinnawaan for those guys again. I'm with the team. Back in the field in the Group 3 BRC sprint last start, finished off strongly, ran the fastest last 200 of that race. So if you watch him past the post, he's just eating up ground. So he's going to appreciate the rise in trip from 13.50 to the mile. All his career wins have come from second up, and the mile is his go. Jump out between runs at the sunny coast was positive with a couple of sharp ones alongside him. I think he's raring for this. Collett from Barrier 2, Tommy.
You know where I'll be.
Looking for runs. I'm also going to lay Munamek in the race. I just, Nick Ryan does have this guy absolutely flying, but just on the weights, draws 1, I think could just be back in the ruck and be too hard. So, 3-pronged attack there in race number 3 for me, fellas. Pray for footy.
I like that.
Yeah.
Hamburger with a lot.
I could make a case for Cinnawaan, and this is the worst thing for a punter. Don't ever do this. Is I've got a bit of a hatred for him because I've been with him a number of times. His Sydney trial.
There's a few of those horses.
His Sydney trial behind Giga Kick was enormous. That was great.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, it was great, and you just thought you want to back him wherever he goes. And it was probably a little bit unsuitable, 13.50 first up, but he's 3 from 6 second up. He does get to a mile, but then the other little knock is he's only won one race here in Australia, and it was 27th of November 2021. I know he's only had 8 runs since then, but you just start thinking...
knocked me out of a huge quaddie.
And now you're here. Yeah. What a roller coaster.
Yeah.
So, you just want to see him do it again. You can make a case for him, but I would like to see him win a race again. If he bowled me over, I wouldn't be too disappointed because he deserves to win the horse. He's got plenty of talent.
Yeah, it's a really good point you make. Hey, let's head to race 4 now, boys. The Group 2 Brisbane Cup handicap conditions over 2 miles. Iris Sequel won the race last year. Knight's Order won it in 2021. Teofilo Star is your favourite. Looks the likely leader here. Would be some training performance as well. 3 back won a maiden hurdle by 8 lengths at Warrnambool. Then went on to win another hurdle by 15 lengths over 3,400 at Sandown. Then won on the flats last week at Flemington. So, benchmark 100. So pretty interesting journey to the Brisbane Cup. How are you assessing this race, Tommy, in terms of the map behind Teofilo Star?
Yeah, spent a long time on this race. Teofilo Star does look the clear leader. You've also got another jumper, True Marvel, in the race.
I was going to say, to add to that, you've got a horse coming off a Hamilton maiden win too, and he's travelled. That was only... I don't know, it wasn't long ago either, and he's had to travel up to Queensland too. It's an interesting race. Teofilo
Star leading, Nerve Not Verve, probably rolling across, True Marble Warning in the next line maybe. Really interesting race. I actually like the race, and I am with Teofilo Star. Just ticks so many boxes here. He's a winner. He gets through all surfaces, stays the trip. He puts himself into the races. He'll be in it throughout and in it for a very, very long way. This is harder, but suitable jockey, hard to fault. Eagle Farm, maybe the only query for mine. The other play for me is number 12, Yaffet. Been in some unsuitable races this campaign, and he was very good last start. He ran the fastest sectional between the 8 and 6 and the 4 and 2 last start. He got a long way back there from a wide barrier. He gets to 3,200 metres for the first time, but his best run was in the SA Derby over 2,500 metres. He savaged the line there. I think this trip will suit him, and he's a horse on the way up, kind of obviously ties in through a lot of these. Kukaracha won that race well, does meet the other 6 through that race worse up at the weights. He rises 1.5 kilos, and he gets past 2,400 metres for the first time. So there are a couple of queries on Kukaracha. Warning wasn't beaten far in that, but I just think Yaffet is the one now, 3,200 metres. I think it's his time. If he doesn't do anything here, you'll be concerned, but Teofilo Star ticks so many boxes and he's on top.
Yep.
Yeah, look, there's not a lot of upside in this race, as you'd expect, a 3,200 metre race. So I'm with Yaffet as well. It's a bit D-Day for me. Always followed him since that SA Derby, shown a lot of promise. And again, he hasn't had a lot of things go right in Queensland, but that just seems to be a pattern with him. So fingers crossed from 6. Benny Thompson, 53, a trip he's looking for, I think. When you watch that race behind Kukaracha, he was the one that you wanted to take out of the race late. He found the line really good. So at a price like that, happy to be on him each way. I'm going to lay TFLO Star. Gate 1, they're going to have to use him somewhat to find the top. And then I think there's going to be maybe a little bit of pressure there at some stage. It was a walk trot canter the other day. I heard Adrian on the radio this morning. I'm pretty sure he's driven the whole way there. So he's gone from Melbourne to Sydney during the week and then Sydney to Queensland and arrived this morning. That's a huge task in itself.
Does that take it out of horses?
100%. It just has to be one tough. Well, he probably is a tough animal. Yeah. That's clear. That's clear. But he'd have to be very tough to go up in grade, to go to Queensland off a 7-day backup. He'd raced at the Warrnambool Carnival, mind you, as well, not long ago. To kick up from gate 1. So I was happy to take him on at that price. And I know his good track form is pretty good, but I think he's excelled and gone through the levels because of wet tracks. His last 2 soft track runs, good track runs, he ran second in a 70 at Pakenham behind Song for Peace, and Song for Peace would get lapped in a race like this, and Moe before that in 64 grade. So I thought he was at an advantage with wet tracks. And if he stayed down here, we could probably, win a few more flat races. So I think he'll be found out up there, but it'll be a keen event to watch, that's for sure.
You sound like you're pretty keen to lay him.
Yep, certainly.
There you go.
Well, I'm with him. They're not taking him up there just for the sunshine, and he's in absolutely ripping form.
That's why they took you to Darwin.
Yeah, you lose Linda Meach, and you gain the best front-running jockey in the business in Tim Clark. We saw how he made a mess of him in this race 2 years ago on Knight's Order, that front-running ride. Figures well and truly stack up for me, so I'm going to be with TFLO Star. I'm also going to be with Outlandos for the same result. I'm going to stake them for the same result. I just can't have him at $21 and Alabir at $6. So Alabir was held up at a vital stage when they met last start, but Outlandos gets a 3 kilo weight swing off that. Looks as though they'll appreciate the step up to 3,200 metres. I just think it's a silly price when you compare those two in the market. So Outlandos at a big price, and TFLO Star for me for the same results in the Brisbane Cup. Let's head to race 5, boys. The listed Hinkler handicap over 1,200 metres. Rangers won it last year for the Snowdens, Superior for the Hawks team in 2021. I think this is a challenging race. I think it's the hardest race on the card to assess. Look, speed engaged everywhere. Could set up for one of these swoopers, maybe your boy, the Inferno. Tommy, I don't know. You talk about this race, boys. I'm out.
Go for it, Tommy.
Yeah, again, I've spent a long time on this race. Really high pressure. Manhood, big goodbye. Barry's 16 and 13. There's Prime Candidate, Grainworm, Speed on Speed. We own a Smart One. Bacchanalia from inside, won't be far away. You've got Axe, Rangers. 2 you got, drawn wide as well. There's pressure and pressure galore.
They won't muck around.
They won't muck around over the 1,200 metres. Inferno's come up with the outside barrier. Now, at first glance, you're like, oh, this is awful. But he's going to be back anyway, coming back from 1,300 metres to 1,200.
One would be more negative, wouldn't it?
I actually don't mind the barrier. I thought it was more of a positive than a negative because he can just allow him to roll at his own tempo back there and do his thing. Zara on, it's a big booking for him. I really like the run of Inferno. I'm giving him a chance. He ran 10.56 between the 600 and 400 metres last start, and I knew it wasn't that balanced on him throughout the whole run home. He found a bit of trouble and just didn't look suited, but to run 10.56, fastest split between the 6 and the 4 was good enough for me. It was a sign that he's going really well, but just from map perspective, I'm with Bacchanalia here. He just lobs into the perfect position. He can absorb a solid tempo that can cross him. He'll find the fence. He just needs brakes at the right time. But he's gone, run really well, put in a shocker, run really well, put in a shocker. You go to... Yeah, he's coming off a last of last, and 3 back he came last as well. But in between, he's got a second to think about it. It brings that
hard
for
to
me.
ignore.
Brings that for me, but beaten 0.4 lengths. That would be winning this. That looks top form. I think he was lame last start. We've got conflicting opinions on this, but either way, it was complete forgive. I'm just penning that race. He was fantastic at Gosford, as I said, 2 back. Maps in the perfect position, and he is on top for me. I am laying the big goodbye and King Kappa. I don't think that's the right form for this. I think there's better horses in the race. Bacchanalia is one of those, and like the likes of the Inferno and Vespertine even are better horses than those two, in my opinion. I think they're too short as favourites.
Is $8 on the fair about the right price for Bacchanalia, or does JMac tax not apply to you when you back JMac?
No, it doesn't apply. No, it is. You could potentially make a case that he should be longer off his last run, but you put a pen through it.
He did SP 650 too.
And the think about it form just stands out like
can't be missed.
Yeah, so I'm happy to take that each way. I just think he maps perfectly, gets plenty of favours.
Yeah, I'd be surprised. I think he'll start shorter, to be honest. I think they'll all gravitate to that form, and as most people would know, you can put a line through one bad run, and you've also got to back in this camp. They're not going there thinking he's going to run poorly again. He's only there because they've done everything at home to make sure things are right. And how often do we see him get it right? J-Mac goes on. He, as Tom outlined, he can absorb pressure, which is going to be high pressure race. He's just got to be careful. He's going to have luck at some stage, because if they go hard, something's going to come back in his face. But we've got one of the best riders in the country on him. So $8, he's 100% a bet. The Inferno, I was on him last times at hundreds, so I'm probably not going to take nines for him. Just hope that he runs well, and if he wins, I'm happy to see him win a race. But Bacchanalia at $8, can't go wrong there. Very happy to be playing there for sure.
Yeah. Just on the Inferno, the race could potentially be too quick for him. He could be run off his legs. I don't like backing. This is a punting lesson almost. When these really high pressure races, they are really fast. It's actually really hard for the tail enders to get into the race.
There's actually a misconception around that with a lot of punters, isn't there, with speed, where it's like, we want the speed to be on, so we get a slingshot in. Well, sometimes they just run off their feet in the early
You need
stages.
that back off, don't you?
Yeah.
From the 800 to the 600, you need the leaders to jockeys in front to basically get it wrong and grab hold of their horses and give away their advantage they've just given to drag the back markers in it, and then they do slingshot. But if it's run fanatic the whole way and the horses out the back don't get a chance to travel, they're not going to finish off at their usual best.
Because they have to work so hard between the 1,000 and 600 to get into the race.
Just like the leaders did when they worked the first furlong out of the gates.
Correct.
So that's why you got to keep your advantage, and the jockeys. That's why Tim Clark's obviously one of the best front running riders in Australia, is because he knows how to get it right, and a lot of them don't.
100%. 100%. The other one that I won't be losing on the race is Blondo. Typical Wallace setup. This second up, target, inside gate, maps well, can absorb a solid speed. He gets a suck run here, and that's the way he performs his best. He's a big price. He's not really well off at the weights, but I won't be losing if he wins.
4 starts. Sorry to bump in there, Nick. 4 starts at the track for Duck Eggs so far. Well, no, I shouldn't say Duck Eggs, but hasn't run a place. Interesting that horses for courses, Eagle Farm, Doomben can play.
Yeah, I think this is a different Eagle Farm track as well, and I think it's a different setup, because he needs his best runs are when he just gets sucked up along and then gets out late, which he can do from here.
K-Mac in a bit of form too, since you started
5 up,
hooking the boots into him.
Egg on face, 5 on Saturday.
Blondo is the same colour as hair as Goldilocks, and that's what Blondo is for me. Needs everything to be just perfect to go.
But he has the ability if that happens.
Yeah, well, it's
and you
just
don't have
been
to have
a
much onto that price.
very frustrating punter's horse. Blondo. Hey, while we got the education
Who are you
rolling, I'm no bet for me in that race. I think
are you betting this week?
I think I made that pretty clear at the top. It was a bit hard. While we do have the education rolling from you two blokes, let's get to our back to school segment, because I want to hear from a trainer's perspective and a form analyst's perspective around how trainers are now using form analysts to place horses. Get that inside scoop, and perhaps I know a lot of big trainers are doing it now in terms of their placement to get the best results from their horses. Reece, is it something that you're doing at Reece Goodwin Racing at the moment?
Yeah, it is. I think it's a huge attribute to any stable, and I think the big boys have worked that out pretty quick, that they need someone, not only someone who knows what they're talking about, but someone that can set aside time to just do that flat out, and obviously training horses you're busy enough, let alone someone like me who's also riding them, and then having to, at the acceptance times, they close at 9 o'clock, so you got all morning to work it out, but you're riding horses, working horses, dealing with horses, so there's probably someone behind the scenes that needs to be working out what races to be accepting for. Like, I know there's a number of stables when I watch them late that will accept and not accept and pull them out and whatnot with progressive acceptors in Victoria. Like Ma are huge for it. They'll jump in the last minute because they can basically see what the race is without the barriers, but they can see what horses are in and probably have somewhat of a speed map worked out, even though they don't have barriers. So I think it plays a huge part. I'm probably fairly lucky that I can do a little bit of it myself.
Yeah.
But have also introduced a few people to helping me out, because I think it's the help you need. This day and age, placing horses is massive, and it can bring you unstuck if you're not doing it properly. So I think it's a major factor in training horses and just the racing game altogether. Yeah,
and Tommy, you've worked with Cliff Brown, we've mentioned on this show before. I'm not sure if you worked with any other trainers. Is there a time perhaps that you can share with us where perhaps you have placed a horse where Cliff might not have been keen and you've gone and got a result?
Yeah, definitely. Even the Inferno, like on Saturday, Cliff texted me straight after acceptances going, "Oh, we've drawn 19." I dissect the race for him, look at it and say it's actually not too bad. If it might actually work out positively. So that's a big one. There's so many elements to this race. There's a perception thing as well. Owners, if you go to the races having an independent form analyst and a piece of form and the owners have heard from someone else not in the stable, I think it's a great advantage. And you turn up to the races as a trainer saying, I'm ahead of the game. We know what we're doing. Great for ownership. We can't expect horse trainers to be form analysts as well. They're good at what they know. And I think in the past, they've always thought that they could do the placement and do the form and do all that. But
we sort of had to, really, because back a while ago, there wasn't all this data and analysis as to people to have that job to be able to help these trainers out.
Correct. So it is, you make a good point, it's time. You've got to trust people to do work for you and do the right thing and place horses. And not just placing horses, but tactics is a big part of that as well. How times marry up, how fast they went last start dictates. The Inferno's another good example.
Track patterns.
First up, we had the blinkers on. He went as fast as he did it in Everest, where he failed again. Took the blinkers off him second up, and he performed really well at Mornington. So
would gear changes be something that you would?
Not necessarily.
Is that more trainers' domain?
Probably
or would
knowing.
If a form analyst come at you and said, "Hey, you've got to put the..."
Putting the blinkers on would probably be more a trainer side, but then Tom was able to analyse that taking the blinkers off was a definite because, as Tom just outlined, he'd gone as quick as he did in the Everest, which was a flop. So that's, putting the gear... Look, Tom can obviously say this thing probably needs to concentrate or whatever and can probably clearly see that, but the trainers would probably more so decide on what goes on, and then Tom could probably tell him if it worked more or didn't work more.
Yeah, I think that's the key. I don't tell Cliff what to do in terms of gear, but I might say, have you thought about it? He went too fast, and just provide the data to the trainers and they can make their own mind up based on that.
It's great insight, and you're seeing it heaps now in the big stables too. Like, it's just a marketing tool. They're sending out their weekly blasts via email. Their runners, dissecting them from an independent form analyst is giving them their honest appraisal of their runners to back or not as well.
You forget, like, Reece is running a business as well. He's got to get owners through the door. Whatever he can do to help get owners through the door. If you try and get form analysts and insights and that helps, why not?
And usually winning's a pretty good place to start as well. Boys, let's get to...
a little pot?
I think so, yeah.
How's your horse going?
It wasn't a pot. It wasn't a pot.
How's your horse going? You all right?
She'll be all right.
I love the confidence too.
I'm more confident. Got full faith in this man.
Full faith in the board. You know you're going to get the sack.
That's right.
The board come out.
He's just going to be analysing the races going forward.
Hey, let's head to the quaddie legs now at Eagle Farm. Kick it off in race 6, which is the Q22 over 2,200 metres. It's run under weight for age conditions. It's worth 1.2 mil if you don't mind. And Annabelle Neesham's got 2 of them in her cabinet with Zaki in 2021 and Numerian last year in 2022. Tommy Serpentine looks likely to be your leader. Numerian will be positive in the run as well. Without a fight was terrific fresh in the Lord Mayor's Cup over 1,800. Both of you guys found Without a Fight at a price. Ran the fastest last 6.42 of that race. Deserves favouritism here.
Numerian looks the map horse for me. As you said, Serpentine leads. Numerian just gets that suck running behind Serpentine. He hasn't won a race since we saw him win the Q22 last year. He's becoming a bit long in the tooth, Numerian. He's only won 5 from 35. He's got 10 seconds to a name, but he doesn't run badly. And he gets all favours here from the map perspective. As you mentioned, I think you're on Without a Fight first up as well, Reece?
Yep. Yeah. So we found him.
We both found him first up. There's no reason to jump off him. I was very bullish. He trialled well, brilliant stable training performance to get him firing first up. He ran the fastest 600, 400 and 200 metres of the entire meeting. First up over 1,800 metres. It was the first time he went below 2,000 metres in his career. To do that was outstanding. They put more speed into his legs. He came from well back there. He's fitter. He's better suited up to the 2,200 metres. No possible reason to jump off him. Very bullish. One of my better bets, race 6, number 3, Without a Fight. And I could entertain saving Numerian just because he maps so well. He won it last year. Sense of timing about it again. I probably don't want to lose if Numerian wins. So that's how I'm playing the race.
Collett just ride the fence from 2.
Yep. Hope Serpentine gets off it.
Geez, we keep receipts here on layback, don't we? You can't say anything and not just have it thrown in your face for the next 5 weeks.
I'll probably look silly because I'm not gonna have Without a Fight. I don't think he's gonna be. This is probably more a theory. I don't have any stats to back it up, but he wouldn't be the first stayer to resume with a booming first.
You're
up
not talking about a flat second up.
I wouldn't say it's flat, but I'm not sure if he's going to rate better. I don't think the race is going to rate. His run's going to rate any better. I don't think he could rate any better than what his first up run did. But he probably doesn't have to. I agree with that. But when we were getting $10 and $11 for him first up, and he's boomed through the middle of the field and looked like one of the next best horses. Yeah, exactly. That's right. So happy to let him go around without me, and I'm gonna have a 1x3 play young. Do you say young Verda or young Werther? Does it matter?
I think get it right.
I don't care what they call him if he wins.
Because he just doesn't win.
Well, that's his issue. I agree. No,
it's one race.
I agree, but if he runs a place, I won't be losing. Simple as that. And he was the runner outside of Without a Fight you wanted to take out of that run. It was only his first up run up there.
You get sucked in by
I know, and it won't be the first time either. It won't be the first time, and it probably won't be the last. But
if you look up flashing light in the dictionary,
he's got it.
Yeah, it'll just be the definition of young Werther.
So, I'm just probably more playing around from a place perspective because Without a Fight, he clearly the horse to beat. The other one, place again, I could probably go with the horse Nick found last time in Luncy's because let's not ignore, he did run second to Without a Fight. I mean, he probably doesn't have to go much better either. And we're getting, juicy enough price to place. We're probably getting better the place than what we are the win Without a Fight. So there too, I could probably spec more from the place side, but I will be having something to win in case young Verda puts his hand up. But I am keen to watch Without a Fight again. It'd be interesting if you can back up what he did first up and win in similar fashion to what he did, then we've got a serious horse in our hands.
I didn't quite have the medal to butter up on Luncy, so I thought the run was outstanding, though. Just flushed out very early.
And the caller, you could hear in his voice, he's got Luncy's has just sort of loomed up and sort of put the race away, and it took Without a Fight to sort of make him look second rate, really.
Yeah,
but he beat the rest of them comfortably.
There was a half stand off the couch when Luncy's hit the front, I must admit, but you look at the replay and, geez, Without a Fight just had everything
when they
else way.
got Blake Shin's thoughts straight after it, he goes, we had a great run, he let down tremendous, I thought I was home, and then we just got beat by this horse that come out of the blue.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're jumping off him.
Yeah, I am. I'm with Without a Fight.
Good.
Yeah, I am. Good. Because, and look, I do respect what Reece says about the flat second up, and I think that does exist. But when you've got a horse like this that's proven over further and you're getting out from 1,800 to 2,200, I think we'll only bounce out of that Lord Mayor's Cup second up. I'm more than happy to take the $3 about Without a Fight. The other horse that I want to get involved in, though, is Duace as well. You're getting $8-9. Absolutely enormous. First up, over 2,000 metres in the Brisbane Cup. Historically, she does perform quite well first up, but what we do know and what the data tells us is she always takes improvement second up out in trip. She's the one I want to follow coming out of the Brisbane Cup, particularly at the price. I really hope Sam Clipperton can give her a dig and be positive like last start as well, because she maps to get a beauty of a run in transit if he does do that. So I'm going to stake them both again for a similar result. Duace Without a Fight. I think it's a good 2-bet play in the Q22. Let's have a look now at the first of the Group 1s, boys. Race number 7, the JJ Atkins for the 2-year-olds over the mile. She's a belter, won it last year. 2021 was Converge, and the Autumn Sun back in 2018. I wanted to mention the Autumn Sun. I love that horse. Azula, King Colorado look the likely to go forward. Snapback, Miracle of Love will also push across from their draws. We speak about this all the time, but 2-year-old races with large fields, they're always challenging to assess. This one more so, as only 3 runners have been tried at the distance. None of them are yet to win at the mile. Do you guys have I guess the question I'll ask, and Tommy, you'll assess it, is do you have a firm opinion of who might appreciate the step up in trip the most?
A little bit. You can obviously use the data and how they attack the line. There's also a trap here with maybe not so much 2-year-olds, but horses in general that hit the line strongly, and you think naturally they're going to go up in distance and perform well.
Because it was a fast speed or something like that.
But yeah, you often find 1,200 to 1,400 metres or 11 to 14, massive difference in tempo. So you find horses can really hit the line over 1,200 metres off a fast tempo. You get a 14 and they just don't perform.
Probably need a 2-year-old with good racing manners going up to 1,600.
Tactical speed, like that's a big part of it as well. Like Azula leads here from King Colorado. There's not a lot of speed on paper. Azula comes from a stable that gets him fit. You know that Waterhouse are going to get this horse fit. Racing manners. If you're out at front, there might not be many horses savaging the line up to this 1,600 metre trip. So you might just be there and not have any chases. I found it a tough race. 11 of these through the sires. Azula set a fast tempo last start in winning the Phoenix. She went 6.5 lengths faster than the benchmark to the 600 there. That's the class. High rating win. Californian comes through that race, ties them all in. California meets her 2.5 kilos better, so I give California a slight chance and was good in the size produce coming from well back again. Ties them all in. Tannhauser ran very well in winning last start. 9th fastest 200 metres, final 200 metres of the race. 1,600 metres on a firm track should be no issue for Tannhauser. That's your positive there. And the stablemate Congregation's got a chance as well. McAvoy, who rode 5 winners on Saturday, sticks, brings different form. I kind of went looking for some different form. I haven't liked the Queensland 2-year-old races as much, and there's just not a lot. Azula, Congregation and Tannhauser, the 3 key hopes, are not too bullish.
So you're pretty against the produce form?
Yeah, I am a little bit, yeah.
Because this top weight hasn't done much wrong, and old Richard Lipp said he's going to retire if it wins.
Safrado.
Safrado, yeah.
Oh, not the horse is going to retire.
No, the trainer. The trainer, dear me.
Rexy, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to retire the horse.
He's done enough.
Well,
Send him to stud.
it wouldn't be the first one to do it that early, would it?
True, fair call, actually.
So I'm not having investment at all in the race. I want to ask you about Miracle of Love down the bottom, what you thought of her out of the Great Miss Finland. You would, by done deal, the breeding suggests a mile's going to be right up her alley. What do you think there? Anything?
So I, prior to her debut, off her trials, it was a bit of a spook around for her. She was a horse that I wanted to follow with an eye to the JJ Atkins, and then she came out last start. She was a bit disappointing. I would have liked to have seen her win
When
by
she
more.
won?
Yeah, she won last start.
winning.
Yeah. I wanted to see her. It was a $40,000 maiden. I wanted to see
Winners
her
win.
stamp herself and say, I can win the JJ Atkins. I didn't see that.
Okay.
Paul Massara has her, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is it. Yeah, I thought that too. Yep.
Because he doesn't get a lot of their really good ones, and obviously this is a very well-bred individual. So, no, I did want to see more from her last start.
Fair enough.
I'm just having a very small each way bet in this race on Chevron, and you mentioned a couple of these flashing light types at the top, Tommy, and you know what, could fall into that, might not, but at the price, it's just a low risk, high reward play. You're getting about $27-30 on the fair for Chevron. 2 back at Scone, 1100 metre, ran the fastest last 6.42 of the race. Then in the sires produce over 1400, ran the fastest last 200 of the race. Craig Williams sticks from that run. We'll love the step up to the mile. We talk about looking for horses that will like the mile. I think Chevron will. So at that price, I'm happy to have a very small each way play with not a stack of confidence, but a good result nonetheless if we see some money there in the top 3. Race number 8, the Group 1 Stradbroke Handicap, 1400 metres, Alligator Blood 2022, Tofane in 2021, and Tyzone in 2020 went from 16 and went whooshka over the top. Huge win.
Was that Jimmy Byrne or Robbie Frad?
It was Frad.
Fraddy, yeah.
It was Fraddy, yep. Looks to be a pretty hot Stradbroke here when we take a look at the map. You got Gentleman Roy from 2, Rothfire, Surf Dancer, Holyfield from out wide, all have speed to burn. It'll just be interesting to see how that first 400 metre unfolds for some of the others that like to be positive but have drawn wide, Tommy. How are you assessing the map?
A really weird map in the sense that 2 natural on-speed runners in Surf Dancer and Gentleman Roy went back last start. Was that just a glorified barrier trial? They went back. They have to be closer here. Rothfire's drawn the car park. Has to be positive as well. Went at a even tempo. Went 2.5 or 2 lengths slower than benchmark to the 600 last start. Probably had every chance, but has to cross here, you would have thought. You've got Holyfield, Royal Merchant up there, Scalapini, who's led in the past. Hawaii 5-0 won't be far away with the lightweight as well. A lot of pressure. There's a few horses that draw awful. Conversion's drawn bad. Af Cabin might have to get further back than they wanted to. Chain of Lightning's drawn awful. Superstorm's probably got none from out there, and Holyfield maps awfully as well. Best map horses are probably Gentleman Roy, Hawaii 5-0.
Just quickly, Af Cabin, I don't want to spend too much time on a horse paying 15, 16 to 1, but is that price, is that pure barrier draw, that price? Because when I saw Af Cabin go up at that price, I was thinking they're offering a little bit of meat on the bone for half cabin, but I just can't get involved purely from the draw.
Didn't you go up even higher, even bigger?
Yeah, he
odds
was
than that?
20s.
mid-20s at one point, I think. Drops 4 kilos off his Doom 10,000 run. He's a horse that brings completely different form. Not really well weighted when you consider he's giving weight to older horses, but he could be a very nice horse. 1,400 metres suits him. I don't mind the wide barriers so much for him. It just means he'll have to get further, maybe a pair further back to get cover and not be 3 or 4 wide, but he will just come to the outside, allow him to do what he does. He'll get every possible. There's enough speed on. I've had something on him.
Okay.
It's not a race I'm keen on. I can make a case for plenty of these. I think about it, it's a clear favourite. No reason to jump off. He drops in weight. He meets them all better at the weights for beating him the last start. Beats Converge, 1.5 kilos better at the weights, who maps awfully. Just ticks so many boxes, but $3 in a race like this, tough. Ruthless Dame, high rating, thanks to win. Fantastic there, maps well, lightweight. Mar Eustace. Hawaii 5-0, 49.5 kilos with a nice barrier. A lot of people are giving the horse a beat last start, a big chance in this, and he's gone to another level, Hawaii 5-0. So, not a race I'm keen on. I've dabbled half cabin.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be with Gentleman Roy. I know Nick's also keen each way. I wish we snapped up the 51s that were on offer, but I'm still happy to take 26s. As you mentioned, Tom, map horse. 54.5, William Sticks. It was clearly a trial the other day. There was no real intent from them, which is probably fair enough from that barrier. They weren't going to cook him leading into the Group 1 Stradbroke. I just think he's performed up to Group 1 level. He probably should have won the CF4. He was first across the line, of course, and lost it in the steward's room. But I think he's a ridiculous price and happy to be sort of playing 1x3 him. Going to lay Hawaii 5-0. The 49.5's probably sucked a few people in. It's going to need every kilo, I think, to be competitive in this race. I think, no doubt, Yellow Brick should have beat it. You swap the runs, which is obviously in hindsight and whatnot. That Yellow Brick should be in this race and Hawaii 5-0 probably shouldn't be, in my opinion. Good on them for getting in, and the horse can probably run well, but I think this is different gravy to what this horse has been racing against. And Yellow Brick, yes, beat Yellow Brick, but I think Yellow Brick should have turned the tables there. So happy to take it on at $5. And that's a race for me.
Yeah, Gentleman Roy has not done a lot wrong. No. So you look at, like as you preface, that 1,400 metre weight for age CF4 Group 1 lost in the steward's room back in February, went to a Doncaster on a heavy 9, like excuses. It's just a clear good tracker. Massively over the odds. So we'll happily play it. Gentleman Roy at a big price, and he's tough. He's tough as nails. And I'm sticking with some 2 old tough boys at 2 old big prices here because I'm going to have a small play on Scolopini as well, who's the oldest boy in the field. And if you like Cardinal Gem at $15, and there's a bit of talk about Cardinal Gem in this race at $15, then you should like the Scallop at 50s because they were both 3 and 4 wide punching the breeze last start in the BRC sprint over the 1350. They crossed the line together. Scolopini drops 4.5 kilos off that run. He'll be thereabouts and run a big race, I think. So, Gentleman Roy, you're getting around 30s, I reckon, on the fair. Scolopini, you're going to get 50s. I'm just going to play small and hopefully win big, fellas.
You've got deep pockets footy, and you could have brought 10% in Scalapini yesterday.
I know, I saw it on English Digital.
16 grand.
Trust me.
Value him at 160k for a horse that's running in a, what's this, worth 3 mil, is it?
Yeah,
3 mil?
The Minister of War and Finance at home would have shut that down very fast. Don't you worry about that. I'm just buying 10% in a Stradbroke winner. No, you're not.
He did have deep pockets before he went to Darwin for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Race.
Cocktails aren't cheap up there.
Oh, please.
It's not cheap to get a bronze tan.
Please. My work trips are very different to your work trips, Tom Haylock. Don't you worry about that. Race number 9, the Group 2 Dane Ripper Stakes. It's for the fillies and mares. Set weights and penalties over 1,300 metres. Palacepan won it last year for Chris Muntz, and Brooklyn Hustle's final victory in 2021 in this race.
Prolific winner.
Yeah. Do you blokes have an opinion on the last leg of the quaddie?
Incredibly tough, typical mares race. I can make a case for Mirror Vision up on speed, drawn well, just to, you know what you're going to get from Mirror Vision. There's a few horses that, like Opal Ridge looks short enough, but she's a very nice horse on her day. I'm not too keen. I can make a case of plenty in this. Like Mirror Vision's one of those. Even Revolutionary Miss and Snapped.
September run.
September run.
At her best,
Yeah.
no doubt about it.
I like September run getting a bit more of a suck run. I don't know if she gets that here.
Have a look. Like you got two back. She's 2.4 behind Imperatrice in a Group 1 race.
Correct. So it's a tough race. Not too bullish. I might have something. Mirror Vision go wide in the quad.
Yeah, I'm going to go my usual value and follow routes. J Mac Waller had a trial up there. A nice
share in this horse.
Yeah, you'd think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
But I wouldn't be able to pay the bills, so no.
You could have bought it if they stopped betting on it.
Right, here we go. Turn it up, Tommy. Anyway, two back, she beat a Tissue, which I think is really good form for this.
She's fresh.
Yeah, and she's just a pretty honest horse. She very rarely runs poorly. She had 16 starts, 6 wins, 2 seconds, 2 thirds. She goes really well in these types of mares races. J-Mac, can't go wrong there. I think we can come home with a bit of value, 1 by 3 again probably, and hopefully she just runs a hole and we're in front on the race.
Yep. Is Opal Ridge something special?
Well, you think that, but she was the 2 runs prior to last start were pretty average.
Well, was everyone labelling her a wet tracker because she won plenty of wet tracks at lower grade?
Yes.
But now she's probably proven she actually is better on top of the ground, and that Scone win was pretty to watch. She blew them away. She was a number of pairs off those ones that were in the placings, and she actually won really well. But you're probably going to take a pretty short quote for her as well to back her in to do it again.
She looks like a wet tracker too. Like she's small, she's got a fast whippy kind of action. She does look like, and she won the Tap Craig, the $500,000 race, beat Pericles, which is not bad form. She smashed it on the heavy 10, and then everyone had said she was a wet tracker based on that, but second or third up in the PJ Bell and the James Carr, she was plain. She was good, but just this is a stronger race.
At the end of the day, she's 14s in the Stradbroke if she does happen to get in. So she's not even the roughest of them there. So, and they were taking her up there for it. That was their plan. So she
just a bit of a boom on her. I think she's too short in an open race.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
Good chat. Yeah, no bet for me in the final race, boys. Hey, let's get into our bests of the weekend. We'll start with our best backs. Tommy, we'll start with you, then we'll go to Reece. And then
how many you got, Tommy?
Just one for you, mate,
That's
this
good.
week.
Glad to hear.
I'm not jumping off without a fight. Clearly going to be hard to beat. As I said, brilliant sectionals last start. Fastest 6'4", 200 metres of the day. First up, 1,800 metres. Better suited second up, 22. Going to be very, very hard to beat.
I'm going to go Eagle Farm, race 3, Yellow Brick. We're getting no spoils, but after my performance last week, I need to find a winner.
Sort of confidence builder.
Yes, I need something for the battlers. I think he probably should have been in the Stradbroke and been half a chance. So happy to step in around the $1.60 mark. Hopefully we get something better on the day, but he's one that I'm going to play safe and make my best.
Yep, that was race number 2, I think, as well.
My bad.
My bests. I got two bests
That's
because
right.
they're not an Eagle
fine.
Farm.
You don't do it every week.
Yeah,
so okay.
mine both at Morphettville Parks. We've got race 2, number 3, Metro Legend. Good return on the course proper. Run down late. Not sure how he lost, to be honest. Was well placed here over 12.50 in a pretty average 86. Is the clear speed influence. Will push forward, dictate. Dropped 6.5 kilos on that first up run. Very hard to beat. And then race 5, which is benchmark 70, Clabell, who was my best bet a couple of weeks ago.
Say you got shares in her.
Yeah, buttering up again. Saluted at Murray Bridge a fortnight ago over 1,200. Will go forward again. Be very hard to run down. Sheridan Tomlinson goes on to ensure he gets in well at the weights in 70 grade again. So they're my 2 bests.
She was well found in the market that day.
Yeah.
That was good by you. I had her in a multi.
They call it smart money. It might have been coming from my account.
The listeners to the show. Just in Sydney, Osmosis is a really interesting horse. She was fantastic on debut. He was fantastic on debut. Big spruik around for him. He trialled the house down. He's about $2.10. I'm happy to probably take that. And race 4 is a really good race as well. Iona Merck goes around again after that dominant fresh win. Thankfully, it meets Kaboo. Very smart horse off a long break. You got Plundering in good form. It's a really good race as well. I'm Lethal's trialling the house down as well, who he always trials the house down.
Is that a Mar runner still?
No, John O'Shea.
Okay.
Yeah, so really interested to see how Osmosis goes in town.
Yep, and our lays for the weekend.
Yeah, well, I'm going to take you on, Nick, with Teofilo Star.
Yep.
Happy to lay him.
And Tommy as well. You're taking both on.
Well, perfect. I'm a really good chance now if you both like it. Yeah, just for all the reasons I outlined, I think it's going to be a big 7 days for him. I don't think you'll find the top as easy, and it's no doubt a real step up in grade. I know it's not a strong Brisbane Cup, But happy to see what happens here.
Tommy?
Taking 2 horses on from the Chief De Beers, the listed race in race 5 at Eagle Farm, the Big Goodbye and King Kappa. They beat Prime Candidate, but King Kappa drops or meets worse for the weights. I'm against that form line and happy to lay 2 in that race. Eagle Farm race 5, number 7, the Big Goodbye, and number 15, King Kappa.
Yep, and my lay of the weekend is in race number 3, Moonamek. Is flying, but I think there's a few negatives up in the weights. Could be back in the ruck from the draw, so Moonamek will be my lay for the weekend. Boys, got a good feeling about this weekend. I like really honing in on one card with you guys. We're not jumping around. It feels like we're putting our concentration into one bucket.
If we can't get this right, we're in a lot of trouble.
Well, we might not show up next week. But as always, have a great weekend, gamble responsibly, and we'll be back again next week on Layback with Betfair.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call 1800 858 858 or visit gamblinghelponline.org.au.